In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the options for and some of the defaults for Office, actually for Word 2016. These are all in the File tab over here, and it's the very last option down at the bottom called Options. And it brings up the Word Options dialog box, and we've got a bunch of tabs here on the left. Each one brings up a bunch of options over here on the right. We'll look at some of the most common ones. So we start with General here, and we've got some user interface options. And the first one is to show the mini toolbar on selection. If you drag the mouse over some text, the mini toolbar will pop up with some common options for fonts and colors and alignment and a few things like that. And if you don't like that, you can turn it off. The Enable Live Preview is something you probably want to keep turned on. The only reason I can think of for not having this on would be if for some reason you were using an old computer that didn't have quite enough horsepower to do this. But the Live Preview allows you to make selections on the ribbon for changing the formatting, and it will automatically show you a live preview. It doesn't work for everything, but it works for quite a few things, and it's nice because you don't have to actually select it and get off of the ribbon and see what it looks like. You can stay on the ribbon, just pause the mouse over the option, and you'll see a live preview. So that's kind of a nice feature. You can put your username and your initials here. If you're sharing a document with somebody else and you're both working on it, then if you want to see who made which changes to which part of the document, it will tag them with your name or your initials. Okay, let's take a look at display here. And most of the stuff here you probably just want to leave the way it is. Let's go to proofing here. And here's something that you may not be aware of. By default, it ignores words in uppercase. I think the assumption there is that uppercase words are acronyms and therefore would not be in its dictionary. So be extra careful if you do type in words in uppercase like titles or something like that, because it's not going to automatically check the spelling unless you turn this off. Okay. Also, under autocorrect options here, we've got a button. We'll take a look at what's behind this. And autocorrect is when Word makes changes in what you're typing as you type it. And for example, if you hold the shift key down a little bit too long and you type the first two letters as caps, you know, like the word capitals here, you almost never want that, so it'll automatically fix it for you. It'll automatically capitalize the first word of sentences for you. You probably want to leave that one on. This one I'm not so sure about. You may not want to have everything capitalized in your tables. Down here we've got some autocorrect, and what it does is it has common mistakes. So if I type like TEH, for example, which is a way to mistype the word the, if you're typing too fast and the E gets ahead of the H, then it will automatically replace it with the word the over here. And if you scroll through, you can see there's a whole bunch of these. You know, most of them are just common spelling mistakes or common typing mistakes. And so it's kind of a nice feature, and you probably want to keep that turned on. You can also add your own. Okay, for example, let's say that I want to, instead of typing out the words United States every time, I type in, let's just do US in lowercase letters here. Now, that happens to be a valid word. So you don't want to have, every time you type the word us, have it get replaced with something. So, however, if you type in a capital U and a capital S, and say you want to replace that with United States, then it will replace it, but only if you type a capital U and a capital S. If you type a lowercase u and a lowercase s, or a combination of upper and lowercase letters, it will just leave it the way it is. We've got some math autocorrect here, and we're not going to worry about this part. We've got auto format as you type. There's a handful of options here. This first one here is one that I normally turn off. So replace straight quotes with smart quotes. I'm sorry, I want that, yeah, I want that turned off. So I will get straight quotes instead of, smart quotes are ones that curl, you know, I guess curl this way if you're opening, and they curl this way if you're closing. We've got a few other things here. An old way of doing bold was to type an asterisk and then the word and then an asterisk, and italics was underline and then the word and then underline. And if you do that, you can turn that on, and instead of doing a Control B or Control I for bold and italic, you can just do it the old-fashioned way. Here's some options that you probably want to leave on. Automatic bulleted lists. If you type an asterisk and then a space, it will automatically replace the asterisk with a bullet, and it'll continue to do that on successive lines. Border lines. If you want to type in a border just by typing like 3 hyphens or 3 underscores, it will do a border all the way across the page. Automatic numbered list is probably something you'd want to leave on. It'll automatically do the numbers for you if you do that. And again, you just type a number and a period and then a space or a tab. And there's actually several different options for that we'll look at in another video. Down here, format the beginning of a list item like the one before it. So like if the first word is bold, it'll always make the first word bold, and sometimes that comes in kind of handy. This one down here, set left and first indent with tabs and backspaces. I really don't like this one, so I turn it off. So if you put in a tab at the beginning of a line, it will leave the tab there. Otherwise, if you have this turned on, it'll automatically change your first line indent for you, and I'm not sure that that's what you always want to do. It's not what I always want to do. So we've got auto format over here, and some of these are pretty similar to the ones over here for auto format as you type, and we're going to skip the actions over here. So I'll click on OK. I did make a few changes there that I want to keep. We've also got a Save tab over here, and by default you want them stored in Word format. And this option normally is 10 by default, but I set it to 1. So that means every minute it'll save what you've done. And if for some reason Word freezes up or your Windows freezes up on you and you can't save the work that you've done, you should be able, next time you start up Word, to go out and it will automatically recover the last file that it's saved out there. So at worst you would lose like 59 seconds worth of changes to your document. If you leave this at 10, then you could lose potentially up to 9 minutes and 59 seconds if it fails right before it's about to do another save. You can specify where your auto recover file goes. This is usually on your C drive. You can specify a default file location. You may want this to go on your network drive or your OneDrive. So you may want to change that one. And I think that's all we're going to look at there. Language, if you want to use a language other than English, this is where you go to do it. Ease of access. This stuff is pretty basic. Then on advanced here, we've got a ton of stuff. And if you just, kind of scroll down the list here and take a look, most of these you're probably going to want to leave the defaults, and most of them are also fairly self-explanatory. So if you want to turn some of these features on or off, just take a look through them. And sometimes they have a little eye with a circle around it here that you can pause the mouse over, and it'll give you a little explanation of what it is in case it's not obvious from the title. Okay, we have the ability to customize the ribbon. So let's click on that. And over here on the right, we'll see what the ribbon looks like. And we've got a Home tab. We've got an Insert tab. The Draw tab is not there. You probably do not have the Developer tab turned on, but I do. So this checkbox is probably turned off on yours. So you can customize what your ribbon looks like to some extent. And if you click the plus sign here, there's a bunch of options, so you can turn some of those on or off. If it's over here now, it's turned on. So you can basically kind of customize this as much as you want to, but most of them are pretty well designed and it's pretty well organized, so the stuff that you would probably expect to have is probably there. There's a quick access toolbar, which is what this thing up here is called. And if you see, I've got a save, I've got an undo or redo, an insert text box, and shrink one page. These two I have added. So I went over here and I found those. Those are two things I do quite a bit. And so I found those over here, and you can go and you can look at popular commands, or all commands, or if you get a pretty long list if you do that. Or you can kind of narrow it down by picking one of these options here, and then if you want something, you just click on this side and you click on add, and then if you don't want it on this side, you want to take it off, you can just select it over here and click on remove. So you can pretty much customize as much as you want to. And we're going to skip add-ins and Trust Center. We'll come back to those in another video when we talk about some related things to that.